Google's ranking factors are exposed, and in this free training, I'll show you a step-by-step SEO checklist focusing on the 7 of the most important ranking factors. In fact, I use this checklist to grow a client's organic search traffic by 889%. I'm Nathan Gotch, the founder of Gotch SEO Academy, and I've been doing SEO full-time for over a decade and have led hundreds of successful SEO campaigns. So please like this video to show me you're excited and save it because it's super in-depth. Let's dive in. So ranking factor number 1 is your crawlability and indexability, because it's impossible to rank without both. So here's how you can check your page's crawlability.
So to quickly see if a website or page is crawlable and indexable, just go onto the page and then click on the detailed Chrome extension and go to the robots tag section. And what you want to see is either index follow or just nothing at all. What you don't want to see is no index. If you see no index, that's actually going to be a problem.
Now, if it's not indexed, there are a couple of culprits. Number 1, it's an algorithmic mistake. So Google is far from perfect and occasionally does some wacky things, such as removing a page from the index. Just wait a couple of days and see if it re-indexes. Number 2, the age of your page and website. New pages take time to index in Google, especially if your website is relatively new and doesn't have much authority. This brings me to the next point, which is number 3, website backlink authority. So websites with strong backlink profiles don't have any issues with indexation. And the opposite is true for weak websites, which often struggle to index new pages. So the solution is to grow your site's authority. More on this later. But let's say you have a decent link profile, then it might be number 4, internal link coverage. So ensure your page is no more than 3 clicks deep into your site architecture and that you have at least 5 internal links to your target page.
So crawl depth and unique inlinks are closely related, because unique inlinks are the quantity of unique internal links going to a page. Okay, so I always like to sort this from A to Z. And the reason is I want to see, are there pages that have very poor internal link coverage? And so for me, anything less than 5, in my opinion, would fall under that category as poor internal link coverage. And if we look on the opposite side, you'll see some of these other pages have 12,000 internal links. So there's some pages that are getting tons of preferential treatment, and then others that are getting no love at all. And so if it's a page that you really want to improve the performance of, you should definitely be looking for opportunities to drive internal links to it. So, you can go, for example, if I want to drive more internal links to this post, I would go into my post section. I would start looking for things that are related to this particular topic. So I'd search something like content. And then I would try to find posts that are highly relevant to this one topic about content optimization tools. So looking through here and looking at these opportunities, okay, is there a way that I could inject an internal link on these posts? Okay. And when it comes to internal linking, just really focus on diversifying your internal link anchor text. Don't use the same internal link anchor text every single time. But in general, you really can't go wrong with more internal links, especially in the body of your content. Those seem to carry a little bit more weight than links that are, let's say in a site-wide navigation. So definitely take advantage of that. And if you see, I would say if it's less than 3, definitely do it. But for me, I like to go a little bit higher and go kind of less than 5. And I'll talk more about, if you can't find opportunities for internal linking, then that's actually a symptom of another challenge I'll be showing you here in a second.
And one bonus tip is to drive internal links from pages with existing backlinks.
So I showed you how you can go into your posts and look for relevant pages to add internal links, but another thing you should do is definitely take advantage of your strongest pages from a link building perspective or from a backlink perspective. So go into SEMrush, go to Backlink Analytics and click on Indexed Pages, and then sort this by domains. And this is going to show us the pages that have the most websites linking to the pages. And ultimately the goal here is to add internal links to these pages, because they're your most powerful pages. And so this is a way to take advantage of all this beautiful link equity that you have to boost up whatever page you're trying to rank.
So fixing these 5 variables will help 9 out of 10 pages get indexed. But if they still aren't indexed, go into Google Search Console and request indexing. And if that doesn't work, after 2 weeks, drive some relevant high quality backlinks directly to the page. And now moving on to ranking factor number 2, which is user experience, or UX for short. So when it comes to UX, there there are some bare minimums you need. Ensure your website loads fast, is mobile friendly, has a modern design, and has an SSL certificate. Don't do anything fancy until you have these things in place. But once that's done, you can use data to your advantage. Start with analyzing engagement rates via Google Analytics 4. Here's how.
So to find pages with low engagement rate, just go to the Screaming Frog crawl and you're gonna scroll over until you find engagement rate over in the Google Analytics section here. Okay, so you can see this column. I'll go ahead and highlight it. And what we want to do is we want to sort this so we see the engagement rate that is the lowest. Okay, so obviously ones that don't have an engagement rate isn't super helpful. So let's look at the ones that do. And what I'm looking for is anything below 20. But honestly, if it's my website, I'm probably going to be looking at anything that's, below 50. And remember that this number, if it's low, is actually not good. It's the inverse of bounce rate. So bounce rate was the old metric you would use with the previous version of Google Analytics, and if that was low, that was a good thing. Now with engagement, we don't want to see a low engagement rate. This means users are not truly engaging well with this, whatever these pages are. And that essentially means that they're not scrolling, and it means they're typically not visiting a second page. So some sort of action is not really being taken on these pages. So you want to address that. We want to make sure that our pages have as high engagement rate as possible.
And I also recommend installing user tracking software like Mouseflow. Here's how it works.
So you already know that with Google Analytics 4, you can see engagement rate, and that's something you should absolutely be tracking. And that's a free metric that you can track. But if you have a little bit of budget, I would recommend investing in a user tracking software like Mouseflow. There's also Hotjar. There's a bunch of other ones, but this is the one I've been using for a while. And there's basically two things that you really want to use with this. Number one is the session replays. So this will actually show a recording of how this person interacted with your website. And you can see like if there's certain areas that they're getting held up on, you can go and improve those areas, on a kind of one-to-one basis like that. But I also recommend using the heat map technology. Okay, so with the heat map technology, you can see so much and see how people are interacting with your page. So what we're looking at here is this is the clicks. So where are people clicking on the homepage? Well, to no surprise, they're clicking on the main call to action that's right here. Okay, they're also clicking on the reviews. They're clicking on various other things. I can also see the other calls to action that they're clicking on, which to me is important because if I see a lot of people are clicking on things about starting an agency, that's an indication that there's a lot of demand for that. So maybe I should create more content regarding that. And the opposite side, if no one really ever clicks about systemization, maybe people aren't that interested in systemization, right? So I can glean insights from looking at this data. And there's so much you can learn from this. And I just can't express it enough, especially like looking at the different types of products that I offer and seeing where do people like to click? What are they actually interested in? Okay, that's what matters. So you can use the click data to your advantage. You can also use it from an SEO perspective, which is where are people clicking on your page, and if they're not clicking, why are they not clicking? You can also look at the movement patterns, see where they're kind of their cursor tends to go. You can also look at the scroll data, so you can see how far people are actually consuming your content. And so in the context of SEO, if you see like most people aren't getting past above the fold, that's an area where like maybe you should try to improve it.
And now moving on to ranking factor number 3, which is keyword placement.
This page does not match the intent of the keyword that we're truly going after. They're trying to rank for St. Louis business and personal injury attorney. So they've added two different intents into one phrase. They have Missouri insurance lawyer. Okay. And then they're talking here about injured in an accident and workers' comp, accused of a crime. There's just too much going on here. This page is not specific enough. It's not relevant enough. It's not hyper-focused enough. And this will not rank, right? And the proof is in the pudding. There's a reason why this is not ranking, because it's not relevant enough. So it needs to be more specific. It just live and die by the concept of one primary service offering per page and one location, right? So if you're going after St. Louis injury attorneys, that page should only be about St. Louis injury attorneys. That's how the whole page should be structured. As soon as you start adding other things in here, it throws off the whole intent, of that page. Okay, so right now I haven't even talked about link quality and all these other things I obviously get into, because we're not even handling the basics at this point. And when you look at pages that are just not doing well for their keywords, it's usually because they just haven't even really tackled the basics. Okay, so we're just going to keep going through this. So they do have St. Louis personal injury attorney. So that is a variation of that kind of main keyword. So that actually would pass in my opinion. But let's go ahead and look at how this is kind of structured. So once again, St. Louis personal injury, and then also medical malpractice. So once again, blending intents together. We don't want to blend intents. We should have maybe just the homepage be optimized for St. Louis personal injury attorney, and then have a dedicated page specifically for medical malpractice, right? And then on top of it, they're blending different states. So Missouri and Illinois, very difficult to rank when you start to blend two different states or two different locations together. You have to keep your website hyper-focused. In this day and age, it is very, very important, okay? And then we can look at the headings. And I noticed this when I was looking at the code. The H, they don't even have an H1 filled in here, okay? So like, this is literally on-page SEO 101. You need to have your primary keyword in the H1 tag, okay? So a lot of the times I hear people always, I post a lot of content, right? A lot of content about SEO. I've been doing this for over a decade, and I can tell you a lot of times I'll get comments on my YouTube videos or on my whatever content I'm doing, and people will always be asking me for like, I need more advanced SEO tips. Give me more advanced SEO tips. And I could give plenty of advanced SEO tips. That's not a problem. But the reason I don't is because there's no point of talking about advanced SEO if you haven't even handled the basics, right? And when we look at this, this is like totally missing just the absolute like bare minimum, just to even get on the field to play the SEO game, right? If you're not even doing this, you shouldn't even be talking about anything more technical than this. You have to get the fundamentals squared away. Once the fundamentals are squared away, then we can start talking about some of the more advanced techniques. But when we look at a lot of these businesses, it's very clear why they're not doing well. Okay, let's keep going here. This one, first of all, St. Louis isn't even in the main heading that appears on the page. So we'll go ahead and take a look. We'll look here. St. Louis, they're not actually even optimized for St. Louis. They're optimized for St. Charles, St. Peters, St. Charles County, St. Louis County. This one is really needs a lot of help, okay? Because this is just not going to work. You can't try to optimize for multiple huge cities on the same page. You just will not rank. So you have to clean this up and get hyper focused. The good news is a lot of this is easy to fix. It's super easy. You just have to restructure the site and hyper focus each page, okay? Now, on top of this, going back to the relevance equation, as you're noticing, a lot of this is about relevance. Personal injury lawyers is too broad. This doesn't actually doesn't signal where they serve. Okay, so you're relying on Google to try to figure it out, and we don't want Google to try to figure it out. We want to literally spoon feed the algorithm exactly what this is about. Okay, and Google's pretty good, right? Google can piece it together and try to figure it out. It sees St. Charles and it pulls the entities out and tries to get a pretty good idea of what this page is about. But you just have to remember, like, we should be spoon feeding Google to the fullest extent.
And now ranking factor number 4 is content.
What we're looking at here is I imported one of the competitors in here, and you can actually go over here to the URL extraction. You just go and import them. And that's why when you do an import, sometimes it looks like this. It can be a little messy. But you can also just write it from scratch in here. Now, what we want to do to properly do this the right way is we want to look at these topics and try to take one of these topics and put it into the content. Don't view these as like, okay, I need to talk about new patients here and just like look for areas to like inject it. Really what you want to do is look for areas to build new sections on this page. Okay, so for example, our team. If we look at this, a lot of the top competitors mention they have sections about their team, the people that you're actually going to be working with when you go to the dentist, okay? And that makes a lot of sense. So just adding a section about your team here could have a nice impact to improve relevance, okay? Then going down here and looking at some other things that are missing, all right? So once again, dental team, tooth extraction, if that's a service that you offer, it should certainly be here on the homepage. It should be discussed. Dental insurance, that's a really important topic. You should have a section specifically about dental insurance, a section specifically about dental emergencies, okay? So this is all that we're doing here is we're looking for these gaps in the content. And the better we do this, the better we fill these gaps, the more relevant of a page we're going to have. And funny enough, even the top competitors here,
I would argue they have a lot of room for improvement, right? Like their scores are not as good as they could be, which means they're actually missing out on a lot of organic traffic through long tail searches. And this is the thing that a lot of people understand is like, they think by optimizing for NLP, it will help lift the main keyword, right? So it's going to lift the main, which is true. But what actually happens is you're building more relevance on the page. And when you build more relevance on the page and you have these topics on there, you actually start to attract more long tail traffic. You start to get more traffic and your keyword footprint starts to grow, right? As your keyword footprint starts to grow on this page, you get more organic traffic, you get more leads, you get more patients, okay? So that's actually the huge benefit. And so this is the way you need to be thinking about it. Now, if I was building this page from scratch, I would do this very differently. Okay, so I would just go ahead and eliminate this. And let's say I needed to re-optimize the page. So first thing I do is I would copy these keywords. So I just go into ChatGPT and put a very simple prompt in. Always start with an outline. Okay, create an SEO content outline for the keyword, and then you paste the NLP keywords in there from Rankability. Okay, and then you just go ahead and run that. Okay, and then within just a minute or so, you're gonna have a nice outline to work with. Now, what you could do is you could theoretically just take this outline and then you could put it into Rankability like so. And what this will do is, first of all, it's highly optimized because it includes a lot of the kind of keyword phrases in there. But if you're going to be working with a writer, you would just go ahead and just take this and you could share this specifically with the writer, and then they could go through and write the content, right? But let's say you have a smaller budget and you don't want to invest in a writer. Okay, well, good news. We can create a first draft with ChatGPT, okay? And by the way, this function is going to be native to Rankability coming up here very soon, but just showing you kind of like the different process. But this will actually, you're going to be able to do this inside of Rankability. But the point is ChatGPT, you can go right back in and then just have it write it for you. So then just say, write the SEO content asset based on this outline. And then make sure you include the optimal word count, which I just pulled directly from Rankability. Okay, so then once the draft is done, we're gonna go over here, go ahead and get rid of this, and then we're gonna go ahead and redo this and just paste in the draft, and we'll see how we did on that first run. So on the first draft, already really, really well optimized, so that's great. But remember, what I'm saying here is draft, okay? This is, the word that I'm using is critical here. This is a first draft. You should not just take this and publish it on your website. This is just the first draft. And keep in mind, you also have to take this content and put it on your website, and it has to be within a proper design that can actually convert. But at least for the copywriting, we're just beginning here, and then you're gonna work either with an editor or any type of human to go through and make this better, right? Make it better, humanize it. Now there's some tricks to this, okay? One thing you can do is you can go to a site like this. Let's say it was for this website in particular, and we could go to our practice, right? And we're gonna open this up, and I'm actually gonna pretend like I'm gonna print this, but I'm actually just gonna save it as a PDF. Okay, so now that I've saved about 3 different pages about that dental clinic, now I'm gonna go over here and I'm actually gonna upload these specifically to ChatGPT, okay? And this is just assuming like if this was my client, go and do this. So we're gonna upload these, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have it revise this content to personalize it and make it unique to this brand. Okay, and then what we have here is a very different draft that now actually includes some personalization and some uniqueness and some originality into this content. And you can just keep doing this over and over. Keep taking pages from the site and uploading it, and it's gonna use that information to make it highly relevant. And remember, the key here is it's not whether we use AI content or not. That's not the issue. The issue is the originality and the quality of that content. And so what we've done here is we basically checked off the originality component now. And then what I would personally recommend is obviously take this content, and still it's got some kind of citations and stuff, and then you'll have to remove, but we'll go ahead and put that one back into Rankability. And what I would do from this point is I would have an editor, a human editor, go through here and just clean it up. Just have them clean it up, make it better, and then it will be in a sufficient place where we can take that content and we can re-upload it to the site. And so really within just a few short minutes, we've really basically revised this content, optimized it. We've done all the critical work. And if you look at this, going back to the competitors, you'll see that by having a 77 means we have by far the most relevant page. among the competitors. So that means just by doing that alone, our performance will significantly improve. And we have overwhelming data proving this. And it just works. Okay, it just works, especially when you have the business set up the way that it should be, right? You've got a nice keyword rich domain, you're actually located in that city, and you have the most relevant page. I mean, it's pretty hard to lose if you do that, okay? And you take care of all the other stuff we mentioned before. So that's really on-page SEO in a nutshell. And now for ranking factor number 5, which is technical. So first, we're just gonna look at pages that have 0 traffic, okay? Then we're gonna go over to the clicks and impressions. And under impressions, we're actually gonna look at those that also have no impressions, okay? And this is from Google Search Console. And then we're gonna go over to the backlink section, and we're gonna look at referring domains, and we're gonna do blanks and 0. So now we're left with our only pages that have no traffic, they have no impressions, which means these pages are not ranking for any keywords in the top 100 on Google. And then number 3, they don't have any backlinks, okay? So these are really pages that something needs to change, okay? And there's a few options when it comes to pages like this, when it comes to pruning. There's complete deletion. So that's number 1, is like, should this page even exist, okay? Because you don't want to waste a 301 redirect if it doesn't have backlinks. So you need to be very deliberate with this group of pages. And we're talking like, there's a significant amount of pages here. It's about 800 pages on this demo website. So 800 pages that are subject to pruning. So your options are delete. Another option is redirect. And that would mean finding a relevant page on the website and 301 redirecting it to it. Another option is to consolidate. So take some of the content from one of these pages and consolidate it onto another page. And those are basically your only options. So delete, redirect, consolidate, or you could also upgrade and improve the existing page. You know, that is an option. Like, let's say you built a page and it is targeting a keyword, but maybe it just didn't perform well for whatever reason. You could try refreshing it and changing that publish date to get Google to re-index that page again and see if that pushes it up. But most of the time, you know, these types of pages just have no positive metrics whatsoever, are the ones that you should really consider maybe just getting rid of. They're not helping your website at all. And a lot of the times the websites that tend to be to object to this idea is because they've become romantic about their content and they're suffering from sunk cost fallacy. Okay, they think because they created all these pages that, you know, they invested so much time and effort into them that therefore they should keep them, which is just a fallacy, right? We can't be romantic about our websites. We need to be ruthless about our websites and only keep what is actually working. And so don't keep all this fat. We got to trim the fat, okay? And now ranking factor number 6 is topic authority. So let's say I wanted to improve our performance and build more topic support around this one page that's about how to get 4,000 watch hours on YouTube. Well, first thing I can do is I can go right into Google Search Console and I can look at all of the data that exists and I can ultimately be able to see, are there particular topics that we're just not covering well? And you can only cover so much on one given topic. So when we look at this, you know, we're seeing all of the keywords that we're doing really well for, and that's great. We want to do, you know, continue to do well for those, but we want to build more support around this page. So what I do is actually filter this by position, and then I can start to see the topics that are going to be definitely warrant their own dedicated page. So for example, I can start to look at these, how to get 1K views on YouTube. Very different than the topic of that page. This needs its own dedicated page, okay? And we keep going down here. Another one here, which is best YouTube video length for monetization. That's a very, very specific long tail keyword that would require its own dedicated page. Here's another one about buying watch hours on YouTube. I could look at this keyword and create a reverse kind of angle with this one and say why you shouldn't buy watch hours on YouTube, right? A dedicated page specifically for that. And I just keep going down the list. And what you'll find is on any given page that is already ranking pretty well, you're gonna be able to find at least 10, 20, sometimes 30 ideas to build topic support. So people really underestimate this and they really look at this at way too broadly. You got to really drill down to the page level so you can start to find these opportunities. And there are opportunities
everywhere. Like there's unlimited content ideas and I'm just looking at one page. Imagine if I did this for every single page on my website, how many ideas I would have. So ideas are everywhere. Okay. This is just one tactic. You can also look at, someone who's doing this really well, or websites doing this well, as Healthline. They are ranking really well for high protein foods. Well, it's no coincidence because they have tons of pages that are built to support that one topic. Like if you look at this, they have 102 pages that are specifically linking with the anchor text protein, right? 102. We're talking about hundreds of pages that they have built to support just this one page. And you can actually do a site colon search and see this with your own eyes. You can look at the domain and then look at that one little topic they're going after and look at how much content they've written just about protein. There's an overwhelming amount. And so a lot of people don't go to this level when they talk about really just dominating one particular topic, one particular point here. And so this is the level you need to go to if you want to take your website to the to the highest level possible. Another thing you can do is inside of Rankability. This is a little cool tactic you can use. Is if you go and run an analysis for a keyword like this, link building services, you go in here and look at the keywords that are being mentioned. A lot of these topics, you should be hitting as many of these topics as possible in the content itself. But a lot of these topics require their own dedicated pages. So for example, link building strategy, well, that's very different than link building services. Link building services is more about, what are the best services that we can invest in to do this work. But a link building strategy is very different. That's about trying to formulate a particular strategy that's going to help you beat your competition. So that would require its own dedicated asset. Okay. And then looking at there's tons of other ideas here. Backlink profile, you create a dedicated, asset about how to build a really high quality backlink profile, or what does a high quality backlink profile look like. You keep going down the list and there's just endless opportunities. And so I often use the NLP to my advantage because I'm looking at this and I'm not just thinking about how do I get these topics in this content, but I'm also thinking about, oh, wait a second, I could use some of these topics to create additional assets. So like niche edits, for example, I create a dedicated asset for that. I create a dedicated asset for private blog networks and broken link building and link building tactics and guest posting services. I mean, all the information we need is right here. This is all the information we need to properly build real topic authority in these really small pockets.
And now for ranking factor number 7, which is backlink authority.
So although using NLP technology and creating highly relevant and original content is the pillar and the lead domino for SEO, you can create content all day, you can use NLP all day, but if you don't have the biggest variable, which is a strong backlink profile, then you're not going to see the best results possible. So this is not a fair assessment when I show you rankings, like for example, showing you, the rankings for this one. Okay. Like this would not be possible unless I had this strong domain. Okay. There are domains that are way stronger than mine, but mine is strong and I write about the same topics. There's link authority, there's topic authority. There's a lot of good things that are working together to make this possible. And so if you want to get results quicker, you want to get results easier, the way to do it is you have to have a stronger website from a link profile perspective. So just looking at my site, which once again, there's way stronger websites, but just put in perspective, my site has been around for going on, I guess it's been 10 years at this point, which is kind of crazy, but I have almost 5,000 referring domains. Okay. I have nearly 30,000 backlinks. Okay. So there's a lot of strong stuff hitting the site. And as a result, when you have a powerful website, when you publish a new piece of content, you get an automatic advantage right out of the gate compared to a brand new website. So I cannot stress this enough. You have to build your site authority. It has to be a really, really important thing. And this is why on, like my SaaS business here, Rankability, I'm not even really going to be creating any content really on rankability.com because instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building up the site authority. So I may create a few linkable assets so that I can leverage them to build the site authority. But the number one objective right now with this new website is to grow that site authority as much as I possibly can. So then when we start to publish new content, it's going to start ranking a lot easier. Okay, so definitely needs to be the number one objective. Now, the question is, how do we go about doing it? Well, you've got a few options. First, you can outsource it. So you can use a service like Search Intelligence. The reason why I recommend them is because they focus on getting really high quality backlinks, like those really powerful backlinks that are honestly very expensive to get on their own. Like you can go to some of these, these marketplaces to buy links, and to get a link on like Huffington Post could be, $3,000 or $4,000 sometimes, or on the New York Times, it might be $3,000, $4,000, sometimes $5,000 to get that link. But the way that they do link building is they're focusing on creating assets. They're doing, obviously having the expert contribute to a lot of these articles. So they're actually able to get these links at a much lower investment per link. And you're gonna actually get a higher volume of links as well. So you're getting links from very, very strong sources. And these days, you don't want to be getting links from mommy blogs and a bunch of blogs that, everyone knows that they sell links. And if you can go to a marketplace and find that opportunity to buy it, well, other people are also buying it, which means it's probably already been, it's not going to be effective anymore, right? So you really want to focus on the links that are a little bit harder to get. Just there's a little bit more barrier to entry. And so that's the beauty of using, outsourcing your link building to a service like Search Intelligence, okay? But along those lines, another thing that you can do is look at what's already successful. We can go to the indexed pages section, and we're gonna be able to see all of the top pages that have attracted the most backlinks. And then from there, even if you're not in the same industry, you can take some of these concepts and make them applicable to your industry. So for example, look at the types of pages that have attracted the most links. They're pretty much all data-driven pieces of content, okay? Like there's no secrets here. Data tends to attract a lot of backlinks. So when we look at this, we say, okay, we've got a model here that works, and we can take this model and we can apply it to our specific industry.
So those are 7 of the most important Google ranking factors for achieving maximum SEO results. Thank you so much for watching.